Blessings, Divine Reflection. Welcome back to my channel. It's such an honor to have you here. If you're new, my name is Idalis, and on this channel I love to talk about spirituality and astrology and give self-help tips. So definitely consider subscribing if that interests you. Today's video is going to be about types of love goddesses and their mythologies. I personally have learned to step into my own divinity through my connection to archetypes of the divine feminine and goddesses, and so I love to be able to share information of goddesses with you so that you could use one of these deities perhaps to empower your own spiritual journey and path to empowerment. If you want to hear more about my personal journey to connecting with the divine feminine and learning how to embody the goddess myself, you can check out the blog post on my website. So the first goddess that I have on the list is Venus, who is talked about as a Roman goddess, but actually was an ancient Italian goddess who later became associated with the goddess Aphrodite and is depicted usually as a young maiden who is blossoming into her womanhood, and as a symbol she can represent rejuvenation, joy, youthfulness, and also maturity, stepping into a more mature state of being. Of course, Venus is also a planet in our solar system, and the goddess too embodies the qualities that this planet in astrology also embodies and rules over, that being physical and sensual pleasures, love, and beauty of a higher nature. So physical attractiveness, but also admiration. The planet Venus also has a connection to the arts and music as well. There's also a connection that Venus has to nature and the bounteousness that nature is able to provide. Venus represents the blossoming of spring flowers and vines, as well as growth and fertility. Now, being that Venus is such a feminine, archetype, she also has a really strong connection to the element of water and this primordial force of creation. In the myth of Aphrodite, which Venus is associated with, it is said that Venus arose from the sea after Zeus's son, Kronos, overthrows his father by cutting off his intimate reproductive organs and throwing them into the sea. And it is said that from the foam and the blood that surfaced, Venus was born. Now, with Venus's connection to water, she's also associated with the collective subconscious and eternity. She represents the waves of our emotional state. Next up, we have the Egyptian goddess of love, fertility, musical, arts, pleasure, and fertility, Hathor. Now, Hathor was worshipped in the Old Kingdom of Egypt, and festivals in her honor, including the Tek festival, spelled T-E-K-H, would celebrate these qualities and themes of life. It is said that the sun emerges from her breast and the moon emerges from her womb. So she is very much a great mother. She is mother to all of the gods and goddesses, as well as the goddess of the sky, the stars, and the queen of the heavens. Hathor is sometimes depicted with the head of a lion. She is ferocious and swift. In her maternal and celestial aspects, she is represented also by the animal of the cow. She is often associated with the sun god Horus, which can be seen in the sun disk that adorns her head, sitting in between the horns of a cow. The name Horus actually means house of Horus. The house which is the sky, is the place where the sun sits. Hathor is also associated with the sycamore tree and the aspect of her having both roots and connection to the higher realms as a tree, right, is represented by her staff, as staffs also represent that connection to the underworld and the overworlds in the physical. You can see by her ankh that she is also a creator and sustainer, right? She is able to breathe life. Many love goddesses actually embody this aspect of the creator, which is a video that I am working on next. There are so many creator goddesses that I don't feel get enough recognition. Okay, God is also a woman. Hathor shows us that in order for creativity and compassion to flourish, we must first undergo transformation. She is also queen of the underworld, death and the destroyer, as well as fate and fortune. Next up, we have the Norse goddess Freya, who is the goddess of love, beauty, sex, war, death, and gold, and also possesses the gifts of prophecy. Freya is also seen riding a chariot pulled by 2 cats. Her father is the god whose name is Njord, who is the god of the wind, the sea, and riches. And Freya too is able to bestow wealth. It is also said that when her long-lost husband leaves her on long trips away, that she cries tears of gold for him. Freya also possesses a necklace forged by dwarves called Brisingamen, and this is a symbol of her ruling over also fine possessions. Freya is also a Valkyrie and chooser of half of the slain that get brought to the Norse heaven Valhalla. Those who she chooses get brought to her great hall called Folkvanner. I hope that I'm pronouncing that right. And also assists the other deities within the Norse pantheon with her feather cloak. Next up, we have Kuan Yin, who is a 1,000-year-old deity and Chinese goddess of mercy and unlimited compassion. She is also a guide and protector of women and all of Earth's children. Her name actually translates from the Sanskrit word Avalokitesvara, both of which translate to she who listens to the sounds of the world. And these sounds represent, Earth's suffering and cries for help. In Buddhism, Avalokitesvara, or Mahayana Bodhisattva, is the one who sprang from the Buddha's tears and is also mentioned in the 25th chapter of the Lotus Sutra. And in the Lotus Sutra, she is represented as more androgynous. Kuan Yin is celebrated on the 19th day of the 6th lunar month, and there are many pilgrimages that can be taken in her honor in East Asia. In Chinese mythology, she took on the form of Mao Shan, who was rejected by her father for never have being wed, but then sacrifices her arms and legs to rescue her father. Kuan Yin brings longevity in life, healing. She rescues those from lightning, from drowning, and also those who are impoverished. Next up, we have the Yoruban goddess Yemaya, who rules over the oceans and is a great mother who gave birth to the 7 seas. She is represented as a mermaid or a water fairy. I talked about her in my most recent story time about how to meet a water fairy and my journey to discovering my connection to water and feminine energy. To hear more about Yemaya and her mythology, as well as how best to connect with her, you can also check out my 7 African powers video, which I'll link above on the screen and in the description. Yemaya is the goddess of love, bountiful generosity, good feelings, emotions, pleasures, tolerance, and forgiveness. She also represents fertility and fidelity. And lastly, we have the Babylonian goddess Ishtar, who is the goddess of love, sex, fertility, and wages war in the divine realms. And as the saying goes, as above, so below, right? And is associated with the Sumerian goddess Inanna. Like Hathor, she is a creator of life and is the source of all life, fate, and time. She is also a judge and a lawgiver, and those who would worship Ishtar would worship her as a sacred prostitute and would take part in, honoring the act of sex and giving and receiving pleasure. And like Venus and her connection to nature, she is the giver of plenty and has a celestial aspect. And Ishtar actually translates to giver of light. She is the queen of heaven, and it is said that the zodiac, 12 signs in our heavens, sits on her waist. Ishtar is also said to descend into the underworld and revive her lover Tammuz, who was a young shepherd that joined her in the sacred ritual of marriage. And after removing a veil at each gate in the underworld, she restores fertility to the earth once more. And in the Epic of Gilgamesh, she actually has a few lovers, all of which who meet an unfortunate fate. She is an embodiment also of paradox and duality. She is both order and chaos, centrality and marginality, beauty and terror. She is also the creative feminine who is active and strong. And then to end out this video, I actually have a quote that I found on Pinterest that I think really encapsulates, the energy of Ishtar and these goddesses, and goes like this: good and evil were invented by the left brain patriarchal culture. In the era of goddess worshipping, the underworld was not a place of punishment, but a place of purification, healing, and preparation for rebirth. The dark was not evil, but a part of our cyclical nature. I just thought that was really beautiful, and I hope that it inspired you to view life and death and love and war as a totality and in its wholeness and fullness. I think it's important for us to let go of this attachment that we have to, demonizing the feminine. It's all this divine embodiment, and there's no separation between these worlds. I think that's what the goddess shows us, this perfect duality and harmony and unification of both light and dark. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to check out the blog, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Also, I do have a membership page for those who are interested in joining, where I do monthly horoscope readings and energy healings and readings for the collective, as well as guided meditations. So if you're interested in joining that, next to the subscribe button, you can also join. And I will see you next week for a brand new video. I love you so much. Bye!